There are moments in life when you feel set apart, not in a way that feels glorious, but in a way that feels confusing. You look around and see others moving forward with clarity, with speed, with recognition, and yet you remain in a place that feels hidden, delayed, even forgotten. But hear this clearly. Hidden does not mean abandoned. God has a special place for you, not a random place, not a leftover assignment, a prepared, intentional, divinely crafted place, designed before you ever took your first breath. The struggle is few understand this kind of calling, because this calling doesn't always look like success at first. It often looks like isolation. It looks like waiting. It looks like being misunderstood, even by those closest to you. And sometimes it even feels like silence from heaven. But what you call silence, God calls preparation. You see, when God sets someone apart for something significant, He does not rush the process. He develops depth before exposure. He builds character before platform. He teaches obedience before influence. Think about it. Why would God place you in a position you're not yet ready to sustain? So instead, He takes you through seasons that stretch you, seasons that humble you, seasons that strip away everything you thought you needed, until all that remains is dependence on Him. And in those quiet, painful, refining moments, your true calling begins to take shape. This is why few understand it, because from the outside, it doesn't look like progress. But in the spirit, it is transformation. There are battles you fought that no one saw. There are prayers you whispered through tears that no one heard. There are nights you questioned everything, including yourself. And yet, you're still here. That's not weakness. That's evidence. God has been sustaining you, even when you didn't realize it. The truth is, a special calling often comes with a special kind of pressure. Not to break you, but to reveal what's inside you. And maybe you've been asking, why is my path so different? Why is it taking so long? Why do I feel so alone in this? Because not everyone is assigned to walk where you're walking. Some callings are public. Others are deeply personal. Some are celebrated early. Others are revealed later. But all of them, when they come from God, carry eternal purpose. You're not behind. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You're being positioned for a place that requires a version of you that is stronger, wiser, and more anchored than you've ever been before. And yes, it's hard. But don't confuse difficulty with absence. God is closest in the moments you feel the most stretched. So don't rush out of your process. Don't trade your calling for comfort. Don't abandon what God is building just because it's not yet visible. Because one day, what feels hidden now will be revealed. And when it is, people will see the strength, the wisdom, the peace within you, and they'll wonder how you got there. They won't see the nights, the struggles, the waiting, but you will know. And more importantly, God will know. So hold on. Stay faithful. Keep walking, even when you don't fully understand. Because the place God has for you is not only special, it's worth it. There are seasons in life where everything around you grows quiet, where doors seem to close without explanation, and the noise of progress fades into an uncomfortable stillness. In these moments, it can feel as though you have been set aside, overlooked, or even forgotten. But this hidden season is not a punishment. It is a sacred space where God begins His deepest work within you. It is here, away from the applause of people and the validation of the world, that your faith is tested in its purest form. When nothing external is affirming your direction, your belief in God is no longer based on what you see, but on who He is. This is where trust is stretched beyond comfort. You begin to walk not by sight, but by conviction. Every delay, every unanswered prayer, every moment of uncertainty becomes a tool in God's hands, shaping a faith that is no longer fragile or dependent on circumstances. In the hidden place, God removes the distractions that once defined you, so that your identity is no longer rooted in achievements, recognition, or approval, but in Him alone. There's a stripping that takes place in this season. Things you once relied on may fall away. Relationships may shift. Opportunities you expected may disappear. It can feel like loss, but in reality, it is refinement. God is carefully removing anything that could compete with His purpose in your life. What remains is not emptiness, but clarity. You begin to see yourself not through the lens of others, but through the truth God has spoken over you. This season also reveals what is truly in your heart. When no one is watching, when there is no reward or recognition, your motives are laid bare. Do you still seek God when it feels like He is silent? Do you remain faithful when there is no immediate result? These are the questions that shape your spiritual foundation. The hidden season is where integrity is built, where obedience becomes a choice rather than a reaction, and where discipline is formed in the absence of pressure. It is also in this quiet place that your relationship with God deepens. Without the distractions of constant activity, you begin to hear Him more clearly. His voice becomes more familiar, more personal. What once felt distant now feels close. You start to recognize that God was never absent. He was simply drawing you into a deeper level of connection. The stillness becomes a place of encounter, where your spirit is strengthened and your perspective is renewed. Though it may feel uncomfortable, even painful at times, this hidden season carries a purpose far greater than immediate visibility. It is preparing you for something that requires depth, resilience, and unwavering faith. What is being built within you now cannot be rushed or replicated in the spotlight. Before anything visible shifts in your life, something invisible must be formed within you. God does not build on unstable ground, and He does not elevate what has not first been strengthened. This is why the process of preparation often feels slow, uncomfortable, and deeply personal. It is not about delay for the sake of delay, but about transformation that goes beyond surface-level change. In this season, God is not just working on what you do, but on who you are becoming. There are areas within you that need refinement. Attitudes, habits, reactions, and perspectives that may not align with the weight of what you are called to carry. God sees beyond the present moment and understands the demands of your future. What feels like correction is actually protection. What feels like restriction is actually alignment. He begins to reshape your thinking, teaching you patience where you once rushed, humility where you once sought recognition, and discipline where you once relied on emotion. This preparation often happens in ways that are not immediately obvious. You may find yourself facing repeated challenges, similar situations appearing again and again, pressing on the same weaknesses. It can feel frustrating, as though you are stuck in a cycle, but these moments are intentional. God allows repetition to ensure that the lesson is not just learned, but embedded within you. He is not interested in temporary change. He is building lasting transformation that will sustain you when the pressure increases. Endurance is also formed in this process. It is easy to remain committed when everything is going well, but true endurance is revealed when things become difficult. When prayers are not answered in your expected timing, when progress seems invisible, when you feel stretched beyond what is comfortable, something deeper is being developed. You are learning to remain steady, to continue moving forward without constant reassurance. This kind of endurance cannot be taught through words alone. It must be experienced and lived. Obedience becomes another central part of this preparation. Not the kind that responds only when it is convenient, but the kind that chooses to trust even when understanding is limited. God may ask you to take steps that do not make sense, to let go of things you once held tightly, or to move in directions that feel uncertain. Each act of obedience strengthens your trust and aligns you more closely with His will. Over time, obedience becomes less about obligation and more about relationship. There's also a deep work of character taking place. Integrity is formed when you choose what is right without external pressure. Faithfulness is built when you continue to show up, even when no one is watching. These qualities may not be celebrated in the moment, but they are essential for what lies ahead. God is preparing you to carry responsibility without being overwhelmed by it, to handle influence without being consumed by it, and to stand firm without being shaken by circumstances. This process is rarely comfortable, and it often challenges your expectations. You may have envisioned a quicker path, a more direct journey, but God's way is intentional and precise. Every moment of preparation is shaping you into someone who can sustain what is coming, not just reach it. A unique calling does not come lightly, and it rarely follows a path that others can easily recognize or understand. When God sets you apart for something specific, it often creates a distance between you and what feels familiar. You may notice that your journey does not align with the expectations people have for you. While others seem to move in predictable directions, your path feels uncertain, even isolated. This is not because you are lost, but because you are being led in a way that requires separation from what is common. There's a weight that comes with being chosen for something different. It is not always visible, but it is deeply felt. You carry thoughts, burdens, and responsibilities that others may not fully comprehend. Even when you try to explain what you sense within you, it can be difficult for people to grasp. This can lead to moments of loneliness, where you feel surrounded by others yet internally set apart. The isolation is not meant to harm you, but to preserve the clarity of what God is speaking into your life. Misunderstanding often becomes part of this experience. People may question your decisions, your timing, or your direction. They may interpret your waiting as inaction, your silence as weakness, or your obedience as confusion. It can be challenging to remain steady when your choices are not affirmed by those around you. However, a unique calling requires a deeper level of conviction, one that is not dependent on external validation. You learn to stand firm in what God has placed within you, even when it is not recognized by others. Pressure is another element that accompanies this kind of calling. It can come from different directions: internal expectations, external opinions, and the awareness of the responsibility you carry. At times, it may feel overwhelming, as though you are being stretched beyond your capacity. But this pressure is not without purpose. It reveals areas that need strengthening and brings hidden weaknesses to the surface. Rather than breaking you, it is designed to build resilience and sharpen your focus. This path also requires a willingness to let go of comparison. When your calling is unique, measuring your progress against others will only lead to frustration. What God is doing in your life operates on a different timeline and for a different purpose. You may not see immediate results, and your journey may not look impressive to others, but it is not meant to. Your assignment is specific, and it demands your full attention without the distraction of trying to match someone else's pace or outcome. There are moments when you may question whether the cost is too high. The separation, the misunderstanding, the pressure, it can feel like a heavy burden to carry. In those moments, you are invited to return to the source of your calling. It is not rooted in human approval or temporary success, but in something deeper and more enduring. The weight you feel is directly connected to the significance of what you have been entrusted with, and it requires a strength that is continually being developed within you. Over time, you begin to understand that not everyone is meant to walk this path with you. Some people will support you from a distance, while others may step away entirely. This does not diminish your journey. It clarifies it. You learn to value the presence of those who truly understand, while also accepting that complete understanding is not always possible. Your focus shifts from being understood by everyone to being aligned with the purpose you have been given. There comes a moment, often after long seasons of waiting, shaping, and quiet endurance, when what has been forming beneath the surface begins to emerge. The place God has prepared for you is not discovered by accident, nor is it reached by force. It is entered through alignment, through timing that is precise and intentional. What once felt distant and unclear starts to take form, not all at once, but with a clarity that confirms every hidden season had purpose. This appointed place is not defined by external appearance alone, but by a deep sense of rightness within your spirit. You recognize it not just because of what surrounds you, but because of who you have become. The growth, the discipline, the endurance, and the quiet strengthening now meet an opportunity that requires exactly what has been built inside you. What once felt like over-preparation now reveals itself as necessary foundation. Stepping into this place often requires courage. Even though it has been prepared for you, it may still feel unfamiliar. The comfort of the hidden season, despite its challenges, can make visibility feel overwhelming. There is a shift from being unseen to being recognized, from waiting to moving, from preparation to responsibility. This transition demands that you trust not only God's timing, but also the work He has completed within you. In this space, you begin to see how every delay, every closed door, and every moment of uncertainty was guiding you here. What you once questioned now carries meaning. The connections that did not work, the paths that did not open, the seasons that felt prolonged, all of it was redirecting you towards something more fitting, more aligned with your calling. There's a realization that nothing was wasted, even the parts that felt confusing or painful. Responsibility increases in this appointed place. What you carry is no longer just personal. It begins to impact others. The influence, whether large or small, requires wisdom and steadiness. This is where the character developed in private becomes essential in public. The integrity, patience, and obedience that were formed in hidden moments now sustain you in visible ones. Without that preparation, this level of responsibility would feel overwhelming, but now it becomes manageable because it matches who you have become. There's also a continued need for dependence. Reaching this place does not remove the need for God. It deepens it. The same reliance that carried you through hidden seasons must remain, even as things become clearer and more established. It is easy to become confident in your own ability once things begin to align, but this place is not maintained by self-sufficiency. It is sustained by the same trust and connection that brought you here. Not everything becomes instantly easy or fully understood. There are still challenges, still moments that require faith, still areas that continue to stretch you. The difference is that you now stand in a position that reflects both calling and preparation. What once felt distant is now within reach, and what once seemed uncertain now carries direction.